Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you the different sketchbooks I have used to create my 4-panel comics. If you don't know that, I started doing these 4-panel comics since the end of 2016. At first it was just like a daily project I did for fun. It is still for fun, but now I'm taking it much seriously. But when I first started, it was just, I just had this idea that I want to document my life, my daily life, in just like a really simple 4-panel comic format. So I start doing 4-panel comics in just like a regular sketchbook, and then I used to do one a day, and then I will post on my social media, my Instagram. And I think I did that for like almost a year, and I did a lot of comics, daily comics, and I just been doing comics ever since. And throughout the years, my comics has been really evolved. So I start by doing everything on paper, in a sketchbook, and then I start doing digital, and now I'm back to doing original again. I just want to share with you like the behind the scene and how I create my comics, and compare different type of sketchbooks I've used to create my comics. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get into it. Okay, so here are all my sketchbooks for creating my 4-panel comics. I'm going to start from the very first one to the latest one. So this is actually my very first comic. I just did it in random sketchbooks. The paper is really thin. It's not even like watercolor or anything. It's just like a really thin piece of paper. I actually did double side as well. So yeah, this is the day when I started. It all started with this first comics about me sleeping at night with my cat. Every cat owner can relate to this one. So I started by doing this one, and then I posted it on Instagram. I think this is probably the second or the third one. I used just a ink pen and a color marker, and then I will scan the page and did a little bit editing in Photoshop and just post it online. And I think you can see here are some of the little sketches I did before I did my comics. So I don't really did like a full sketch here. I kind of just like to go with the flow. You can see here I kind of messed up a little bit with the text, and then I just clean up in Photoshop. I think that's the way I work. I tend to just work really fast and simple because I don't like to do too much planning. And especially in the beginning, I was doing one per day, so one 4-panel comic per day. So that's a lot of work. So I don't want to plan too much, because to be able to be consistent, that's more important to me. And here's another one. Yeah, so in the beginning I just did it on a piece of paper, double-sided. Because at the time I just did it really quick, and I didn't really dedicate one sketchbook just for my comics. So I was doing my comics with like other sketches or writings or anything in the sketchbooks. And after I finished that sketchbook, I I don't like to keep too many stuff, so I will recycle my sketchbooks after I finish them. But I want to keep these original comic pages, so I just rip the pages out and just save them in this file folder. I think it's nice to have these originals. I always wanted to kind of share with people one day how this all came together, and I'm really glad I'm sharing this with you today. And I also kind of experiment with different format in the beginning. So this is the original format. It's just like really simple 4-panel comics, no titles or anything. And here I was trying a new format. I did a title on top with my name underneath. So the first day one, I actually did this afterwards, and then I put it on top of these comics because I think it needs a little bit like explanation of what's going on here. So I put the title afterwards. And here you can see I was kind of also experimenting with like more interesting way of doing comics. I will break the panels. Yeah, I'd like to use my 4-panel comics as a way to experiment and just do the comics in my own way, kind of, because I never really studied comics and I didn't really grow up with comics. I didn't read comic books when I was growing up. So I really just kind of create my own format and create my own rules and just having fun playing around. Here's another one with the title, and you can see here I didn't really kind of finish this first panel, and I think I probably finish this one later on another page. I want to say this is by far my most popular comic. Believe it or not, I actually won a medal for this comics, a comic medal. Of course, here I also mess up a little bit, but I fix it in Photoshop. This one is called Rain Check. It's just something I have been struggling ever since I moved to the US. I feel like this is something I kind of experienced a lot, and then I create a 4-panel comics based off that. So all these early ones I did with ink pen and color marker. And I was always wearing the same clothes in the comics, which is a black striped dress. I actually own this dress, and it was a long sleeve dress. And then I think later on I kind of turned myself into wearing this short sleeve dress, but they are all based on the same dress. Like this dress, the short sleeve one, I think I kept with that. But in the beginning, at first, it was long sleeve. So it's just a little fun fact, a little detail. And I also want to say that I kind of developed this friend character very early on. You can see, I think the first time my friends show up is here, but here is still just like a genetic character, but here I was actually kind of turning it into a more stylish version. Just how you can see I was always wearing the same dress, and I always have the same haircut. Here, my friend, I don't know why I do that, but I want to say this is not one particular friend of mine. Instead, it's like a hybrid of all my friends. And so I want to give her a more consistent and uniform look. So this is how I came up with her look here. Yeah, so these are the very first few comics I did in the first sketchbook, and I put them in this file folder. And now let's see, I think the second one I did is in this sketchbook. So this is a sketchbook format I really like because it is a square one. As you know that I said before that I will post all my 4-panel comics to my Instagram. So it's really important to have like a square format. In the old ones, I was just doing the square by hand, so they are not really consistent. Like the sizes varies and not very consistent, and I had to kind of like measure with a ruler, so it was not very convenient. So I bought this sketchbook. I believe it is a sketchbook from the brand Handbook. Yeah, this is one of my favorite sketchbook brand. They have different sizes, and this square size I think is perfect for doing like 4-panel comics or just doing drawings to put on Instagram because it's a square format. So I start using this one, so it's really convenient. So you can see here I can just put cross line in the middle. I don't even need to measure the size because I know it is going to be a square format no matter how I do it. I'm just going to scan the whole page and then it's ready to upload to my Instagram. So I did one per day. Every day I would do one. And here I was using some color pencils, just trying different materials. And then I think here I did the outline, and then I think I filled up the background in Photoshop. So like I said before, my style evolved throughout the years. So at first everything is done on paper, it's like fully finished with the color background all by hand. And then later I kind of start doing the outline by hand, and then I will color in Photoshop digitally. And the background is also really simple, just like a flat simple color. I also developed that as my style. It's just like a really simple color background. Also, sorry if you hear any weird noises in the background. That's from my chinchillas. Like they're chewing something very loudly right now. So sorry about that. Yeah, I think this one I did all the color in Photoshop. And I think it's also easier for me since I didn't really plan and I didn't really like do color study or like swatches. So before, when I make some mistakes, which I did a lot, I just use like a kind of like a correction pen, like the widener. So it didn't look very good. Like here, it doesn't look very good. So I think I decided to, okay, maybe I should color it digitally. It looks cleaner and it's much easier for me to clean up. It's easy for me to just like fill in the color. And here I was doing this one. I think at the time it was kind of popular at the time that these kind of fictional characters you identify with. So I did my own version of the fictional characters I identify with. Still keeping it in this 4-panel comics. I think it's really helpful to be consistent with the format, because it's like a exercise for me to, okay, how can I come up with an idea today that is different than yesterday but still within the same format, and how can I play with the format in my own way. So here I'm kind of using 4-panel comic as my guide. Again, I color this background in Photoshop later. Yeah, I think it's really nice now I'm looking at this that I can actually hold a physical book and I can see, you know, each comics one by one. I think that's the beauty of doing things by hand and have physical copy of the thing. And by the way, you can read all these finished comics on my Instagram, which I will link it in the description box below, or you can just follow me on Instagram at Infant Comic. So I use the 4-panel comics as a way to document my daily life. So they are kind of my like diaries. Whatever happened that day, I will come home and then I will draw it out. It's just like a way for me to document what happened. And I think some people ask me whether I did one, like whether I actually did one on that day, or did I like do multiple ones at once and post later. I want to say that when I first started, I actually did one per day at that day. I didn't plan the next one, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't have like a backup to post. So whatever happened that day, I would draw it by the end of the day and then finish it by the end of the day and then upload it the same day. It was just like a really nice exercise. I know people do these kind of daily projects, you know, like one drawing a day, or like have these prompts. So this is my daily project. And I was also really surprised at how many ideas I had. I mean, I still have. Right now, I don't do one per day, but if I have to, I'm pretty sure I can come up with one idea per day. Because to me, there has to be something that interests me that day, or not even interesting, like something bother me, or something I've been thinking, or something on my mind, like I always have something to say. That's the point. So when I was doing this 4-panel comics, like one per day, I never run out of ideas. Yeah, so I always have like fresh ideas coming because they are from my life, they are from my daily life. So I didn't need to make up anything. All I need to do is to put them down on a piece of paper, to draw it out. Like all these conversations in my comics, they actually happened. Everything happened in my life. So it's always interesting to me that how, like, I never really intentionally trying to be funny or interesting or like relatable, but just somehow they are relatable because they actually happen in my life, and I'm sure they could happen to other people too. It all started with my cat Sesame, and he is like a constant inspiration to me. I did a lot of comics based on him and the things we did together. And then I started doing more about my life. At first, I didn't really have like a plan of what kind of content I was going to create. I just create whatever that is on my mind, whatever happened that day. But during this process, I kind of realized that there are 3 main themes in my comics. So one, of course, is my cat. So it's about my cat and me being a cat lady, even though I only have one cat. And then the second one is about my life. So I am a Chinese that's from China. So I'm a foreigner living in the US, in New York City. So I have a lot of kind of observation living in a foreign country by myself. And also I am a freelancer, working from home, even though I would go outside sometimes to work in the coffee shops. So there are also a lot of comics that's based on my life as a freelancer. That's the second theme in my comics. And the third one is about my dating experience. So I called it like modern love because it is a lot about online dating or dating in, you know, this kind of new era. I'm pretty sure it's different than before. So I didn't do much in the beginning about dating, but that's definitely a big theme in my comics. I do that more now. So I am conscious about these 3 big themes in my comics. Like every comics I do falls into these 3 categories. This one is really funny that my cat accidentally set himself on fire, which actually happened. He's fine. He lost some hair, but he was fine. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly go through this one. You can check out all this on my Instagram, and I will have a link down below. And also I post all my latest comics, all my new comics on my Patreon first, so you can also check it out there if you want to support me to be able to keep creating daily comics. So be sure to check it out. I also post monthly video there, and I will have the link down below if you are interested. So this is the second sketchbook that's from the same brand, Handbook, and I was doing a little bit different things. Like I said, I didn't really dedicate one sketchbook to my comics, so I was doing different sketches in this book. Yeah, this is the title of my first comic zine. So I put all these comics I did together and I turned them into a comic zine, and you can purchase them in my shop. I will have a link down below. Now I have 3 different comic zines now. 2 of them are about me and my cat, and 1 is about me living in New York City as a Chinese. Here, during this time, I start doing mostly digital. I will still draw in my sketchbook, but they are more like a rough sketches and just the outline. Not even outline, they are mostly just pencil sketches. So my comics, kind of evolved from being completely hand-drawn to partially hand-drawn, partially digital to completely digital. There was a period I did everything in digital, in Photoshop. I will even do the sketches in Photoshop, and I was trying different formats. So this one doesn't have much to see since they are mostly just rough sketches, but I just want to kind of show you like different sketches. Sometimes I had these ideas and I don't have this sketchbook with me, and I will like draw down the idea on a piece of paper, and later I will put it in this sketchbook. So this is the second comic sketchbook. So after those 2-3 sketchbooks, I start trying something new, which is hand drawing again, but in watercolor, which I didn't do before. Before it was just like a random color marker. It was also something I was experimenting. So I start doing these ones completely by hand again, but in watercolor. And this is the style I am sticking with at the moment. I have a feeling that I will keep doing this. I don't know how long, but I think this is a style I'm pretty happy with. So I'm doing everything by hand in watercolor, and also experiment with some other comic format. And so this one is still not dedicated for my 4-panel comics, but I did a lot of them in this sketchbook. And as you can see, the ones I did here, they are bigger size, because I want to have more room to color and put the text. And also I have this big sketchbook laying around, so I want to be able to fill it up with my drawings. So I start doing my comics in a bigger format. And as you can see, my style is more and more refined now, and I have a pretty good kind kind of control about how my characters look. Oh yeah, and this is the cover of my new zine, which is I'm still putting it together, but this one will be my next zine about my dating stories and my dating experience. Yeah, so I'm still not, treating this sketchbook as like a series, final sketchbook, and I like to, did like my color swatches here, and for me it's more important to be able to create kind of just collect the pieces. So this is my 4th sketchbook, and now this is the one that I'm currently using, and I have introduced this sketchbook, this brand, in my previous video, which I will link here. If you're interested in learning about this sketchbook brand, I have a more detailed review on this. This is a German sketchbook brand, Constant Papier, and it's still a square format, which I like because I can use it to create my 4-panel comics and post on Instagram. It's a much bigger size. I think this one is probably, I want to say 6 by 6. I'm not sure, but this one is 8 by 8, and it's much bigger size. And I'm able to, do a full watercolor comics on the page. Yeah, I also use this one to create some other illustration. As you can see that even though I am doing watercolor now, I don't really like to use watercolor paper because, I don't know, I just like to keep it simple and casual. I also like, how you can see the paper is kind of wobbly because it absorbs the water, and I just like to hear the sound of it. I just like to hear the sound. And here you can see I was also playing with different format. This is from my 30 Days in Europe comic series, which I'm still doing. I think I have done 3 so far, and I'm planning to do more. And here is the final outcome of one of the comics from that series. Yeah, so now I am, like, apart from doing my my regular 4-panel comics, I'm trying to do more like mini series. In this case, it's about my 30-day travel in Europe last year, and I want to use my 4-panel comic format to tell the stories. And here is another kind of ongoing series I am doing. It's called Happiness Moments. So I'm trying to document like the exact moment. You can see the date and time here when I feel like a sense of absolute joy at the moment. I want to document that in a single panel format. And here I was also playing with the title a little bit. Again, you can check out all these comics on my Instagram or my Patreon if you want more early and exclusive comics. So now I'm dedicating this sketchbook for all my comics. So I will only do comic related drawings here. Yeah, I am taking my comics more seriously now and giving it a space it deserves in my sketchbook. So that way, whenever I have an idea, I can just put it in my sketchbook that's dedicated to my comic. I can always come back and finish it later. So now I don't do one per day, I don't do the daily ones, but I'm still trying to be consistent and post it regularly and spend a little bit more time on each one. I still have a lot of ideas, as you can see here. They are all rough ideas here, but when I have the time, I will finish them. Yeah, so that's the end of my sketchbook tour. I still have less than half. I'm really happy with this sketchbook and the current setup. And these are all my comic sketchbooks. I hope you enjoyed this video of my comic sketchbooks and got a better idea of my creative process. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time. Bye!